Back from E3, I got a lot of things to talk about. The first one is going to be Resident Evil 2 because it's my favorite announcement of the show. We knew it was coming. There were rumors that it was going to be shown at Sony's press conference, but still being there and seeing it revealed and it actually kind of meeting my expectations, at least so far, was definitely one of my favorite E3 moments. But not only that, I got my hands on it. I got to play roughly 20-25 minutes of an early section of the game, and I came away pretty excited. Now, my background is really, you need to know, Resident Evil 2 is up there with me with like Star Wars, Metal Gear Solid, stuff like that, aka things I obsessed with when I was like 7 or 8 years old. And both me and my friends obsessed over it. We literally played Leon, Wesker, Ada Wong on the playground, no joke. So I had a lot of memories, I have a lot of nostalgia. I also understand, going back and playing it multiple times over the years, that it's corny as hell. It hasn't aged well, but I think it's really special because in a lot of ways it's when Resident Evil started to really come into its own. That's when the lore started to get Japanese as fuck and awesome. And I think it's better for that. Now, I'm really curious to see where they go with Resident Evil 2, the remake, but so far, I really like what I see. So, what I got to play was an early section of the game, like I said. It was the police station in the game. You know, the game starts, you're kind of like on the streets doing stuff, and then the first real puzzle large area is the police station, and it's where you spend a lot of the game. Now, right off the bat, the game looks incredible. You can tell that they're using tech that they used in Resident Evil 7, at least somewhat, because graphically, the game looks damn good. I think that's obviously one of the things it's gonna have going for it. It's a lot of light and dark shadows and stuff, and right off the bat, this game makes Resident Evil 2 look well lit. This is a very dark, spooky game, and I'm really into that, especially in conjunction with Leon's character design, who looks, number one, more realistic, but number two, still kind of really cool. And they didn't try and change him too much. He had a very weird outfit in the original that didn't really make sense compared to what all the other police officers were wearing. But here it looks a little more realistic and a little more believable, but it still completely has the identity of the character, which is very important to me. I don't know, I didn't get to see Claire. I'm not sure where that's gonna end up, but the trailer, she looked kind of fucked up. But I guess they're doing a thing like they did with Resident Evil 7, where they just ruined the Redfield's faces. I don't know. That's a whole other story. That's a whole other topic. Really, you get the whole walking around the police station and doing the main stuff in the beginning. The puzzles are very similar. There's a fountain puzzle. The environment, however, is very different. The layout is different. First of all, the main lobby feels different. It feels way smaller. Not only that, but where you actually go are different. They're gated off. Now you go into one of the main areas from the original game where there are zombies reaching through the windows. Now zombies can just legit break through the windows, slide in, slither in, whatever zombies do. They slide, flop in, and then they start following you and trying to annoy you. Now you can also find boards and board up these windows, which I think is a cool new mechanic. It's not like a crazy thing where they show Leon hammering and nailing the wall. It's very old school Resident Evil where you just click it, click the item, and it shows up. But it's still an interesting mechanic. I'm curious to see how far they go with it. But equipping boards and using the little keys for the certain fountain tricks and stuff like that, that all works with an inventory system that feels similar to Resident Evil 7's in terms of how it's structured. But other mechanics, you do click on a typewriter to save. Not only that, there are item storage bins similar to the original game. The police station right in the middle, in the beginning, feels very similar. It's got a typewriter, it's got a storage bin, it's got a computer you gotta access, and I felt kind of at home. But on the flip side, like I said, the game feels completely different. I did kind of go into this demo big dick swinging, thinking I knew everything that was going to happen and I was going to be able to get through it no problem. And they changed it up quite a bit. Like I said, the puzzles are slightly altered. The encounters are very different, and the environment is different. The map isn't completely one-to-one, but some of the environments that are familiar are completely different. Like now I visited an environment I remember in the original game where you first find the cop who is bitten. Here, you don't meet him in that room, and it's also pitch black. So I'm expecting a lot of surprises along the way as a fan, and I think I'm into that. I'm really like digging into my brain, like, do I want a one-to-one remake, or do I want a better remake that still manages to keep me on my toes? And I'm kind of leaning towards that, especially because this game This game was scary. I was actually pretty spooked at times. There was a part where I heard zombies come and I just started running down a hallway saying, fuck it, I'm gonna die. I got flustered and I got like terrified at points, and I think that's good. And I think what really worked with that is not only just the light and darkness, a lot of darkness, but also the gore is really, really good and really in-depth, more than I ever thought to see in a Resident Evil game. Couple that with zombies that I thought were just good video game zombies. Probably one of the best video game zombies I've seen in terms of the old, shuffling, shambling zombies. These were incredible. They looked lifelike. They looked realistic. The way they animated, the way the light hit them, and you see the light hit them and the shadows behind them. It worked really, really well, especially considering you can really maim them this time around. You can blow off or knife off their arms and limbs will just fall off. Resident Evil games have had that in the past, but here with like a Resident Evil 2 thing and the way it works, it just feels really convincing and gross. And I think that's what we need, and I think that's what we like about Resident Evil games, is that it's just gross shit. And here it seems like we get it. That was my main takeaway, because there were other aspects where it was completely old Resident Evil, where I'm automatically running around and picking up herbs, combining herbs like it's my day job, like that stuff feels familiar. But then there are different environmental tricks and different zombie encounters that really still make it feel different. Also, speaking of light and darkness and stuff, the flashlight mechanics I thought worked incredibly well. When you go into a very dark area, Leon will automatically take out his flashlight, walk around like this with the camera, but then if you aim down the sights with your pistol, he'll aim with the flashlight and the pistol. Very cool, worked very well. And with the graphical engine, I just thought it looked damn good, man. My real concern is I hope they find a good balance of changing things, maybe moment-to-moment encounters where it's necessary, but keeping things the same that really made the game special, like the Mr. X encounters and stuff like that. I didn't get that far to see any of that, but at the very least, like I said, dude, I am hopeful. Now, there are two things that I walked away with the demo as little bits of red flags, two concerns of mine. Number one was that there was a lot of ammo, and I had plenty of ammo. Now, zombies, of course, in this game take a lot of hits. Also, you can headshot them, they would dramatically fall down, and then a minute later, they would get up and keep bothering you. I like stuff like that, but I just found that I had way too many bullets, and I didn't feel that survival horror stress that those old games really conveyed. And even Resident Evil 7 did a decent job at it. But also, this is just an E3 gameplay demo, so maybe they just modified it and tweaked it a little bit to make it a little bit more accessible to someone who was just coming off the show floor, going behind closed doors and just picking up a controller and playing. Just so I could have a little bit more fun with the shooting mechanics and stuff like that. I don't know. I hope that's not in the main game. I'm sure there will be difficulty levels, so we shall see, because I don't like having a lot of bullets in Resident Evil games, because that's where the tension comes. That's not a big deal. The other thing that might not be a big deal to some people, but the music and the sound. The guns didn't really sound that impactful, but more importantly, the music, guilty. I want a lot of the same music from the original game. I thought it was really good. I think it could have been like upped a little bit for this generation, but it doesn't seem like we're getting that. It seems like they totally kicked out the score for something different. I was really hoping for the main police station, main hall theme. I love shit like that. Here, it's a little bit more horror music, just like kind of like ambient sounds that increase and increase as you get to scarier places, which is fine. It's effective. But those were just really my main issues. Not the biggest things, but I still just wanted to point them out. Really, my main takeaway is that they could have massively fucked this up, and I really did not know what to expect when they announced a remake of this, but I'm into it. I'm really happy. It's definitely one of my favorite games at E3. I got a couple more to talk about that I think you guys are gonna wanna hear about, so stay tuned for that. Also, I will link it in the description. At E3 on GameSpot stage, I got to go hang out with What's Good Games, and that was really cool. We got to talk specifically about this, so if you want to see that, I was a little nervous, but it was my first live thing. It was fun. Check it out. I linked it down in the description. But now we got to talk about this game. I need to talk about this game with you guys. I haven't really had the chance to dive deep with y'all, but I want to know what you think. I want to know if you did play the original, what you want from this, and if you never did, which chances are that could be likely. It's a very old game at this point. What do you want from this? Whatever it is, Resident Evil, let's talk down in the comments. I will, of course, be down there talking to you guys, but if you have anything else for me, you probably know where to hit me up on social media by now, Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, at Jake Baldino. Also, I will link it in the description below, our Discord for this channel and our podcast, Because Video Games, if you want to check that out. But, as always, guys, thank you so much for coming around and listening to me ramble about this stuff, especially after a very productive E3. But, as always, thanks for watching. You can subscribe, Because Video Games.